You know, today, working at a coffee shop, fast food restaurant, retail store isn't necessarily easy or safe at times. Not a day goes by without hearing about some flash mob robbers wiping out stores or an unstable person causing a scene inside a cafe with a knife or just attacking somebody. More criminals know how to play the system. Prosecutors and judges claim they are revolutionizing jurisprudence by releasing repeat offenders back onto the street. They say we incarcerate too many citizens. Well, that's not helping us, folks. Not only are we concerned for our safety, think of all the money these business owners are losing. In 2022, an astounding $112.1 billion with a B dollars in industry losses, 112.1 billion. It's a delicate balance. So where do we draw the line? According to the National Retail Federation, initiatives such as raising the dollar amount that must be stolen in order to be considered a felony or eliminating cash bail have unintended consequences. In a recent survey, nearly 72% say they've seen an increase in the average value per incident where they raised the minimum felony thresholds, while another 67% reported an increase in repeat offenders in areas associated with initiatives to reduce or eliminate cash bail. So clearly, it ain't working. Nearly all retailers are in support of federal organized retail crime legislation. Now, something needs to give. Tonight, we have 3 men who made snap decisions to fight back against gun-toting robbers, unruly customers, and organized crime gangs. Now, some would call them heroes. They thought they were doing the right thing, but their bosses felt differently. Now they're all unemployed and wanting to know what they did wrong. Now, first up, Michael. He's a 20-year-old college student working as a barista at a coffee shop to pay his way through college. Just last December, 2 armed thieves entered the store in the middle of the day demanding cash.
I was terminated from a major coffee shop because I stopped a robbery. Sunday, December 17th, I was just working drive-through. 2 armed robbers walked in and started demanding cash, tried to open the register and the safe, could not do so. I was pistol whipped in the back of the head. I thought I was going to get shot. They were pointing the gun, like just waving it around at all of us. They were yelling and saying like, get on the ground. All I could see out the corner of my eye was my coworker be like, I'm not giving you my personal belongings. Then they started to fight him. My coworker was just fighting the person that had the gun. He was getting hit over the head with it. I thought he was going to die. My coworker got the gun away from them and was like, this is fake. And I was like, okay, so we have a chance. I got up and then started to fight both of them with him. I got one of them on the ground and the other one ran off. The police picked them up later that day. I felt like I did everything I could. And then I got a random phone call. I answered. It was just like, hey, this is someone from corporate. We have decided to terminate you effective immediately. There isn't anything that I would have done differently in the situation.
So, as a barista in this location, how often did you have to deal with violence or unruly people coming in?
Very frequently. We had customers that were just angry, or normal instances that like we had to argue with them and be like, hey, we're just trying to do this the right way for you, and just have those type of situations.
When they came in this day, what do you remember? What happened?
So I was working in the drive-thru at that moment, and we were just doing our normal job, everyday things, and they announced that it was a robbery, came in. One had the pistol that we did not know at the time was fake or real, and the other one just like ran behind the cash register, and they grabbed my manager, threw her on the ground, and then I felt the need to just be like, hey, I got you guys. I'll grab the money out the cash register for you. I was trying to do it. At that moment, I was like calm but scared on the inside, a little fearful of my life.
So you're complying?
Yeah, I was complying to the best of my abilities.
All right.
And after that point, I couldn't get open. I told the manager to get up off the ground, like, can you get up so you can open the register for me? And
Because you didn't have what you needed to get it open.
the credentials, yeah. And then after that moment, they pistol whipped me in the back of the head. And at that point, I felt in danger for my life and the people around me. And I thought I was gonna die.
Well, first off, I'm sorry you had to go through that.
Yeah.
I've got 2 sons, and I can't imagine either one of them having to deal with that. You're trying to comply, and that's the policy, right? They've told you, if somebody comes in, comply. You understood that that was the policy. Do you understand what's the thinking behind that policy?
So I thought that it was just for liability reasons.
Yeah, so if you fight back and you get hurt, gun battle breaks out, somebody gets shot with a stray bullet, then a $200 robbery could turn into a multi-million-dollar lawsuit, right?
Yeah.
And you get that.
Yes.
But when somebody starts beating you in the head with a gun,
Yeah.
now it's not comply with policy, you're now fighting for your life.
Yeah, I definitely entered a fight or flight state as that happened. And at first, I laid down on the ground and tried to just compose myself because I couldn't see. My vision went dark. And then as soon as I started seeing, I tried to get up as fast as I could and start to fight back with them.
Okay, so your training is, if you've got violence, active shooter, whatever, your training is run, hide, fight, okay. But you think this whole thing changed as soon as you get hit in the head and you thought, okay, now this is self-defense.
It definitely changed the whole dynamic in my eyes.
And what did they say when they fired you?
That it was going to happen effective immediately, and I asked them why, because I was confused and upset about it. And they said the situation could have went a lot differently, and that's all the information I got.
All right. Look, when we come back, Michael says that his pleas for help for more security at the store went unanswered. We'll talk about all that when we come back.
Well, yeah, you don't want to get stabbed or hurt over a t-shirt. But if somebody comes in with a gun, it is actually fight time.
Isn't there some duty for them to take steps to protect their employees with security or some measures to keep the employees as well as the customers safe? Every notification on your phone announces another wave, a hurricane threatening lives, an East Coast labor strike threatening our supply chain, an international conflict threatening our peace, or an assassination attempt threatening our democracy. Supply chains for medications can be unreliable, but there's a way to feel safer in this uncertain world. Please research how to get your own supply of medications in case of a small or more significant emergency. I urge you to invest in a Jace case today. It's an emergency medication kit containing life-saving antibiotics that treat the most common and deadly bacterial infections. You'll fill out a simple online evaluation and customize your case to include add-ons like ivermectin, EpiPens, and more. The time to prepare is right now. Mention my name and you can receive a discount on your Jace case. Just go to jace.com and enter promo PHIL at checkout. That's promo code PHIL at jace.com. Get the right meds the moment you need them.
This is the police tower. It's the most recent thing they did. Basically, it's just supposed to deter incidents happening at the shop. It monitors the area. Anytime an incident happens, they'll basically just come immediately. It's like the first response. I wish it would have been here when we were having like our incidents happen constantly, or security or anything like that.
There's one thing between being robbed and another thing being attacked during a robbery where you're fighting for your life. Michael's attorney, Ryan Krupp, says this is just too little too late. They are gearing up to sue the company for wrongful termination. Ryan, the policy, as distasteful as it is, from a corporate standpoint, makes sense to a point, right?
I agree that it makes sense to a point. I mean, we think about, as Michael said, your run, hide, fight policy is so that somebody does not get hurt. But now what we're talking about is the difference between liability and human safety and your right to self-defense. And that's where we start to get out of a gray area, and in my opinion, both legally and morally, into a black and white, right versus wrong.
Yeah, because there's a big difference between a robbery and a physical attack where he's now sustaining a head injury. This is obviously a very bright young man, obviously industrious, obviously got a future ahead. He's gonna stand there and let somebody beat him in the head and maybe shoot him in the head, who knows? At some point, you do go into a fight or flight reaction and your survival instincts are gonna kick in. It seems unreasonable to expect someone to just say, well, policy chapter 3, paragraph 17 says, I gotta let you beat me in the head here. That's a pretty unreasonable expectation.
Yes, doctor, and your expertise in forensic psychology is showing when you're talking about your gut reactions. When we have a situation like we have here with Michael, you need to be able to draw the distinction between what is a potential active shooter and an attack and jumping in to save something from the store. Somebody tries to take a t-shirt or something like that. Well, yeah, you don't want to get stabbed or hurt over a t-shirt. But if somebody comes in with a gun, strikes you with that gun, and maybe is going to harm someone that you care about, that's off the table. It is actually fight time.
Yeah, I'm no lawyer. I don't mean to brag, but I'm not. But I do understand human nature, and I understand that there is foreseeability here. If this was a pattern in this location, in this company, so it's foreseeable that this could happen, isn't there some duty for them to take steps to protect their employees with security or some measures to keep the employees as well as the customers safe?
Yes, there is a duty, and we call that a common law duty. Now, what we are seeing across the country is institutions foregoing that duty because they think they'll be covered by workers' compensation statutes that will shield them from liability.
Yeah, but you can't contract away negligence. Right?
I agree with that, and that's part of the debate that's going on. And to give you an example here, this isn't just a retail issue. The number one area that we're seeing this occur is in the healthcare industry with nurses. And my wife is a nurse, and so this hits home for me, is that in the healthcare industries, you're getting report after report after report of patients injuring nurses.
Well, they're the number one victims of attack, right?
Number one in the country. And those institutions are doing nothing because they're looking for some sort of shield of liability. And so there is an ongoing battle, doctor, about, shielding that liability for these companies, but a duty is imposed. I agree.
Now, let me ask you guys, just by a show of hands, does it make sense that a company would say, look, don't fight back because the situation could get a whole lot worse, just let it go? Raise it real high if you agree. Okay, here's an excerpt from Starbucks' statement. In situations like this, our training and protocols guide our partners to comply and de-escalate, not just for their safety, but for the safety of all in the store. Makes sense. I get that, because you don't want to start wrestling around with somebody with a gun and people get shot if you can just say, hey, take the $200 and leave. But the truth is, there are chain stores. We go in and everything's behind lock and key now, behind plastic, which means you got to hire more people to open that up. And you get these flash mobs and, they come into a designer store and steal thousands and thousands of dollars in a matter of seconds. And people just have to stand back and let them walk out, which says something is wrong in this country. We've definitely got issues. When we come back, the father says his son loved his job as a grocery clerk until he was fired for defending himself against an irate customer. There is a point where it changes. We'll meet the father and his son next. Sleep is the foundation of whole body health. When we sleep well, our minds and our bodies perform at their best. That's why we're so excited to talk about Beam's Dream Powder, a science-backed, healthy, hot cocoa for sleep for the better. Other sleep aids can cause next-day grogginess, but Dream contains a powerful all-natural blend like reishi, magnesium, melatonin, and more to help you fall asleep, stay asleep, and wake up refreshed. Right now, Beam is offering my listeners early access to their Black Friday sale. Dream has been a game changer for me. This is your chance to try it for the lowest cost it's ever been sold at. Get up to 50% off when you visit shopbeam.com/Dr. Phil and use code Dr. Phil. Head over to shopbeam.com/Dr. Phil and use code Dr. Phil and get yours before they sell out. That's shopbeam, BEAM.com/Dr. Phil and use code Dr. Phil for up to 50% off. Austin worked at the same grocery store for over 3 years. Now, he says he loved his job until last year when he became the victim of 3 assaults on the job. If he's the victim, why is he getting fired from the job?
I was terminated from a grocery store. I was assaulted on 3 separate occasions. They fired me for the 3rd occasion because they claim that I assaulted the customer when all I did was use self-defense. In the first attack, I took out the front trash, and as I'm on my way back, 2 people were stealing from the side exit. The guy saw me and just punched me in the face. I'm trying to defend myself, and I then get pepper sprayed by the wife or the girlfriend. I was able to get away, but I was bleeding. I'm sorry. It's just I thought I was gonna die.
Can we talk about the second attack? Will you walk me through that one?
I'm sorry. I don't feel like talking about that one.
Okay.
And that one's too much for me. I'm sorry.
It's okay. Do you want to take a minute?
Yes, please.
Sure.
The 3rd incident, I was sweeping the store. 2 females were approaching me. They said, "This guy is harassing us." I hear heckling from the guy. I walked them out to their car. When I come back, there was some commotion up in the front. And then out of nowhere, he turns around and runs right back into my face. He is cussing me out, threatening to beat me up. The entire exchange, the security guard and the supervisor were standing right there doing nothing. We do this whole back and forth where I back up and he comes forward again. The 3rd time he bumps me. I push him off of me and he punches me in the face 3 times. And then not too long after that, they terminated me. They claim that I hit the customer first. That's not true at all. He was getting up in my face. I don't know. Had I not pushed him off, would it have been worse? Would he try to choke me maybe? I don't know. I have had nightmares about incidences. I've had anxiety. There have been moments where I would hear a noise and I had to make myself breathe. I just gotta pray and hope for the best each day.
Austin's father, Adam, says his job was so important to his son. He says Austin is mildly autistic. For Adam, this job gave him purpose. His father says it's not fair that after everything you just heard described, Austin was terminated due to a large amount of crime in the area that no one was doing anything about.
Austin is my son, and after being assaulted 3 different times and then ultimately terminated for defending himself, as his father, I'm going to do everything I can to defend him and protect him. Austin was never diagnosed fully with autism. When he was younger in elementary school, he did see a doctor. He did get put on medication for a little bit. In high school, he was in the assisted classes to where he'll figure something out, but it just takes him a little bit longer. So when my wife and him applied for the job at this grocery store, we figured it would be a great job. That type of work was something that he could do forever. Once he got it, he would just repetitive. He'd do his job. He'd be happy. My question was, what's security there for? I would assume to stop an assault. My son was assaulted. Why did he not do anything? They don't care. Maybe they thought we were just gonna roll over. I don't know. I just know what happened to my son was wrong, and I think people should know what happened to him.
Good to meet you guys.
Good to meet you, Doctor.
Nice to meet you.
Austin, this just keeps happening over and over, right?
Yeah, so the first situation that happened, kind of brushed it off. It was like, okay, yeah, this is something terrible that happened, but lightning can't strike twice. But unfortunately, in my situation, it just hit me 3 times. We didn't think too much about it until the second situation. The second situation gave me the nightmares. So again, I am taking out the trash, just trying to get my chores done. I don't remember exactly what he said, but I heard, oh, this is nothing personal. And I hear footsteps. And on me, I have my apron and a roll of trash bags. I turn around to have a homeless person coming at me with a knife, and it sticks into my roll of trash bags. Had I not had my trash bags, I'd probably be dead. I wrestle him off of me, and he slashes my arm. I was able to get away, get back inside, close that door. The second I went up to talk to my manager, it just hit me that I could have died. And I'm sorry. I just broke into tears. And my manager called the police, called my parents, and like it kept coming to me like, had I not had this roll of trash bags, I could be dead. So that's when the store, I apologize, that's when the store actually got security. I'm not feeling safe at this location, but I want to continue working. I need to. It's helping me, move on in life. It's helping me in life and stuff.
Adam, how did you feel when you saw the video of what happened to your son? Christmas is the perfect time to share the gift of comfort and luxury with your loved ones. Cozy Earth makes it easy with their bamboo sheet set, a true holiday favorite. These sheets are ultra soft, breathable, and guaranteed not to pill for 10 years, ensuring restful nights and serene escapes every day. Cozy Earth's stretch knit bamboo pajama sets for men and women are another can't-miss gift this season. They're perfect for unwinding at home, offering unmatched comfort and style for those treasured moments of relaxation. Now, Cozy Earth is all about transforming your space into a sanctuary of tranquility. They're responsibly made, temperature-regulating, durable fabrics, and they make every product a thoughtful investment in comfort. Order by December 13 for free shipping or by December 20 with expedited delivery. Head to cozyearth.com/Phil and use code PHIL for up to 40% off. Give the gift of luxury this holiday season. Adam, how did you feel when you saw the video of what happened to your son?
As a father, it was devastating. After the first incident was, like he said, he just thought it was just a one-time thing. The second one really hit home when I saw the hole in the trash bags that I could put my finger in. So that's when we requested for a transfer. The first two, Mom and I actually went down to the store. We heard about it. We were called. The third one, he says, I got punched today. And I go up, and he's got marks on his face. So Mom starts talking to him. I go grab the keys. I go straight down to the store. I knock on the supervisor's door. He recognizes me, pulls me in, pulls out his phone, shows me the video on his phone that he took a screen record. And what Austin said exactly is true. As a parent seeing your kid get hit.
Yeah. Did any of these 3 assailants, were they ever pursued, arrested, prosecuted?
No. The second one, where it was the transit in the area, they actually took my son in the police car. They found somebody a couple blocks away that fit the description. They took my son over there at the scene that night. It was not the guy, so they brought my son back. And then I think about 2 weeks later, because the grocery store that he worked at had no cameras on the exterior.
You saw the video of the guy punch him 3 times.
Yes.
So did they make an attempt to arrest this person? That's battery.
There's actually no police report on that one, so we didn't get to talk to the police.
Yeah.
And they're saying that my son said he did not want to press charges, so they have no police report involved.
And the one where the knife stabbed the trash can liners, I mean, that's assault with a deadly weapon, at least.
Correct.
Nothing.
No. I got an email about 2-3 weeks after the incident that said that the officer came back to the scene the next day, canvassed the area, and could not find any surveillance video, so the case was closed.
Case closed. So he's out of a job.
Yeah, so his first day back on April 10th, after his 4-hour shift, they called him in and suspended him, and then 7 days later, he was terminated.
You don't have to think back very many years when this wasn't happening. It certainly wasn't in the headlines so much. If this is what's happening now, what's happening next? Where are we headed if we don't stand up and start pushing back? Theft is running so rampant in some areas that popular retailers, as I said, are being forced to close. Next, we're going to meet a man whose job is to stop these organized crime gangs, but he says doing his job, well, got him fired. We'll be right back. Tyler is a retail security specialist who worked for a major retailer up until 5 days before last Christmas. As a single father of 2, he was devastated to learn he was fired for doing what his job told him to do.
I worked for a major department store in asset protection. I was assaulted from behind. I was forced to defend myself against multiple people simultaneously. As a result, my employment was terminated. As I was doing my routine floor surveillance, I observed 3 subjects. They looked like young adults in their early 20s, and they were selecting multiple quantities of similar merchandise, coats, puffered sweaters, jackets. While on the way to make an apprehension, I was assaulted from behind by one of the subjects. He basically trucked me from behind. We struggled for about 5 seconds, 6 seconds before finally I let go of him and he went outside of the double door exits. I spin around and then there's 2 other guys and they start running towards me. And then the guy that ran out of the building runs back in and he grabs my shoulder from behind. I grabbed him and I took him to the floor. He immediately stopped. He looked up at me and said, okay, I give up, I'll go with you. The rest of his team dispersed and left. In a situation like that, it probably went as good as it could have. About 9 days before my incident, there was an associate from a location in Philadelphia who was stabbed to death as a result of engaging with the shoplifter. I feel like I could have been the next person to lose their life. I was in a heightened state of alert, right? And then Monday, I was notified that my employment was terminated. And that came as a shock to me. If a person doing the same job as me in a different location dies 9 days before my incident occurs, and then they just say, okay, well, you're in a similar situation, you didn't die, so you're in the wrong. That's treating me as completely disposable.
You did what you were hired to do,
Yes,
and you
sir.
got fired. So what did they say to you about, why were you fired? What was their reason?
They came up with some policy violations
So how often did you see shoplifters in your job?
every single day,
Every day.
usually between 2 and 5 times a day.
And they're getting more and more brazen.
Yes, they are.
And when you would confront them, what would usually happen?
Typically, I'd wait till they exited the building. I'd wait outside. As soon as they got about a foot or 2 outside of the exit, I'd approach them, identify myself with an ID card and verbally ask them to return the unpaid for merchandise. Depending on how they responded, that would then determine how I reacted. So say, for example, somebody was compliant. Okay, great. Let's go back inside, sign some paperwork, and then you could be on your way. If they started to get a little bit panicky, I just talk them through it. It's no big deal. We're just going to keep it in-house. I don't want to get law enforcement involved. It's not that big of a deal. Usually that's enough to calm people down. However, in some instances, sometimes people will fight or they'll try to run. So we're thinking about traffic coming by. If somebody's going to run or they're going to get hit by a car, we're thinking about their safety and our safety and the safety of bystanders.
They actually told you initially you did fine, right?
Yeah, so I immediately reported the incident to my direct report, which was my manager. And he said, man, if I was in your situation, I don't know what I would have done differently. He said, you should be fine.
Well, here's an excerpt from Macy's where this took place. It says, Macy's deploys visible and plainclothes asset protection personnel in our stores and coordinates closely with local and national law enforcement agencies in assessing risk and response. Now, I think what they're trying to do is make a non-response response, but what they're saying is they prioritize safety of customers and colleagues. But you're a single father, you got fired 5 days before Christmas. This had an impact on you.
It had a major impact. I went through a phase of shock. I couldn't believe it because I operated within the policy. There's a difference between going out, stopping somebody, and then if they become non-compliant, you have a chance to get away and taking them to the ground and trying to handcuff them. That's a no-no. You want to stay away from something like that. In my situation, I was attacked from behind. So in this instance, it's a self-defense situation, and you're completely allowed to defend yourself. They tell you that verbally in the training. They tell you that through the documentation in the training. You have to sign off on it, so they know you're allowed to do that. But 5 days before Christmas, finding out that I was a victim of assault and that I had to defend myself against multiple assailants simultaneously, and it's all clear cut on camera from start to finish. And they have all that data that they could research. They could look at all my previous apprehensions and times that I went ahead and disengaged and let people go away without further incident and took the loss. They know that I'm capable of doing that. But in this situation, I had no other recourse but to defend myself. And then to get terminated for that by somebody making a judgment who's never been in the position before.
Yeah.
They can't speak to it.
Well, now, there were factions that wouldn't release and clear the video, but I've seen the video, and you're describing it exactly right. I mean, you got blindsided from behind and took measures to protect yourself. We'll be right back.
Being a retail worker in this day and age, it's scary. We've had incidents where a person will walk in violently and just freak out over drug overdoses. We've had somebody cut off their ear in the shop. We've had people that started arguing with us, got really aggressive and throwing whip canisters at our heads.
It's everywhere. Society has gotten bad. 5, 6 people run into a store, ransack it, and nobody can touch them, nobody can do anything. They're just gonna continue to do it.
There's an entitlement that I get to come in and you can't touch me. And I can cuss you out and I can kick you, I could punch you, I could spit on you, I could hit you, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Look, when people are stealing at a rate that causes stores to just throw up their hands and close because the cost of loss due to theft is just too high to even survive, something has gone seriously wrong. But there is an argument that says we need to pick our battles. Now, former prosecutor with Los Angeles County District Attorney's Office and host here on News on Merritt Street, Lonnie Coombs, knows exactly what I mean when I say pick your battles. She says there's a gray area that we need to talk about. So, Lonnie, welcome. It's good to see you.
Great to be here. Thank you.
What's the gray area?
One is the lawlessness that's going on. Why are people doing this? I mean, I started prosecuting cases in 1988. We were talking about shoplifting. It was somebody going in and stealing, a couple $100 worth of food. Now we have these organized gangs going on, and the lawlessness has just gone to such extreme levels. Now, we have in our society, it's kind of a pendulum, right? So in the 90s, we became very justice-oriented. We upped all the punishments. We put more people in prison. It swung to one way because there was lawlessness. We swung this way, and for a while it was good, and then it became too extreme. So we started swinging this way. Now we're seeing, as you talked about, that are now trying to do things like no bail and raise the value before it gets to a felony. And we're seeing it go the other way, where this lawlessness is growing. So we need to bring that pendulum back again and find a good medium ground. But now let's talk about the employers and the employee situation, okay? The laws are really on the employer's side, right? Because employers say, you want to come work for me, here's the contract, here are the rules, the policies you need to follow. If you don't follow them, I'll fire you. And you agree to that because you want the job. And so if you violate the policies, they can fire you. Even more so, there is a law in many states called at-will employment, which allows employers to just fire at will for any reason, really, unless it's retaliatory or discriminatory, right? However, in the case of Michael, I think they have a very strong argument because there's another exception to at will, and that is called public policy. At some point, you cross a line, right, where it's just too much. So that line is, we, in our community common sense, do not believe that an employee should have to sacrifice their life to hold on to their job, right? You can't fire someone when they stand up for themselves. The cases on this are very clear. It's a high standard. It has to be an imminent, lethal danger. But if you're facing an imminent lethal danger, you can defend yourself and you can't be fired for it.
Yeah, and that imminent lethal danger is a state of mind. I mean, the fact that it wasn't a real gun, he didn't know that. His state of mind was his life was in danger.
Absolutely. And by the way, the other assailant did have a real gun, is my understanding. And so there was absolute lethal danger. And he got pistol whipped. Dr. Phil, he could have been killed from that.
Yeah. What do you think of Austin's situation?
I think Austin is the golden employee, right? I mean, 3 different instances. He was punched, he was pepper sprayed, he was stabbed, and he never escalated any of those situations. He just pulled back. Then we get to the incident where he was fired. And once again, he was doing everything he could to de-escalate, like they want him to do, de-escalate the situation. When the guy kept coming at him and bumped up against him, and he pushed back, you could actually argue that was another attempt to de-escalate because he was getting backed up. He was trying to get away. So when he pushed back and he got away, he gets punched 3 times and still does nothing. So I think there's a wonderful argument for him to say, look, I did nothing but de-escalate, which is your policy. There's no reason for you to terminate me.
Yeah, you know, I totally get the liability side of things. You don't want somebody to get hurt for liability purposes, moral purposes, otherwise. You want to de-escalate always. Clearly, you always want to de-escalate. But if you've got an employee that says, okay, look, I'll follow your policy. I'm not going to get up there and start wailing on some customer or whatever. Clearly, you don't want that kind of employee. You don't want somebody who's going to come across the counter and punch somebody out because they were rude.
Right.
That's not what we're talking about here.
No.
Right now, one of the things we have are gangs that are recruiting teenagers because they're juveniles, and so they know that they have less accountability if they get caught, that are going into these designer stores and stealing high-dollar merchandise, delivering it back to the gangs so they can resell it, and they're getting exploited. And what people don't understand is that when they're going into some of these drugstores and they're stealing a lot of medicines, it says don't store above 110 degrees Fahrenheit or whatever, it deactivates what's in the medication. So then they go sell it on Amazon for half price, and maybe a cancer patient or some other chronic disease patient sees that and buys it for a discounted price, not knowing it's been deactivated. And so this can actually wind up costing someone their life because they think they're getting medication. The unintended consequences of the moral decay that is allowing this to run so rampant, it doesn't stop. People don't think about all the consequences.
That's right. I think that's what's really important about sharing this. You know, we think shoplifting is not a big deal. Well, it is organized crime at this point, where it can literally cost someone their life because they are not aware of this.
And all of us are paying for it, because if you don't think it's not rolled into the price of what we pay for everything from bread to aspirin, retailers have to roll that into the price. Coming up, final thoughts. We'll be right back. The big question that I've got about all of these shoplifters, and you've had to face this as a prosecutor time and again, is what's happened to our moral compass here? What's happened to our family values? Where are the parents of these people that are going in and stealing this stuff, doing this shoplifting, where is the moral compass? Where are their parents?
Yeah.
You've had to prosecute some of these. Where is their guidance in life?
You know, our society is really going in a direction that's not good, right? And I think that's exactly what you've been doing, is calling that out. Part of it is a sense of entitlement, right? Part of it is a sense of, I don't want to have to work hard, so I'll just get it easy, the easy way. Part of it is, the rules don't apply to me. And part of it is, where are their guidance? Where are their parents? Where are their role models to look for? And why aren't these good role models being put up on a pedestal rather than, hey, let's get something quick and easy? That's something that I think we all need to look at ourselves and look at our society and say, what can we do to do it better?
I have to say, if a 16-year-old kid goes into a store and shoplifts something, I don't think they should have something that goes on their permanent record and haunts them for the entire rest of their life. Mm-hmm. You know, so people say, well, what do you think should happen to them? I hesitate to make it a felony, frankly, because I don't think they should not ever be allowed to vote. I don't think they should never be able to work for a publicly traded company. I don't think something that they did when they were 16 should be holding them back when they're 35, married with kids, et cetera, because they did something dumb as a kid. But I do think there should be accountability. Mm-hmm. I think they should have some adjudication of this, that they have to pay for, work off, do community service, have some consequence that it makes them think about doing it again. I don't think you should ruin their lives, but I do think they should have accountability for it.
I agree 100%. And I saw this as a prosecutor. There were so many times when these kids, teenagers, young adults, would come into the criminal justice system, and this was really the first time in their lives that they were going to be held accountable, right? Whether they were raised by parents who were just letting them do whatever, they faced accountability. And it was a chance for them to turn their life around, to learn that, hey, there are rules, I do need to follow them, and I'm gonna take this chance. And if they were willing to take their chance and show that they wanted to change and show that they wanted to get their life in order, then I was more than happy to give them that second chance. That is something that is a wonderful part of the criminal justice system, that you have that opportunity to give them that second chance after they've really had this wake-up call. And in fact, I wrote a book about this that you helped me with, You're Perfect and Other Lies Parents Tell, you know, the ugly truth about spoiling your children. And I talked about all of these stories of these young people coming through the criminal justice system. Some learned their lesson, some didn't. And some of the ones that didn't was because the parents were still indulging them and telling them, don't worry, we'll get you out of this.
Yeah, that's the last thing they need to do, is get them out of it. Well, you know, Michael, Austin, and Tyler, who's a single father, I'm telling you, these are the kind of employees you want. You go to drphil.com and I'll make sure you know how to get in touch with them if that's the kind of person you want working for your organization. Look, I want to thank Lonnie Coombs, all of my guests. Ryan, thank you for being here and for helping Michael. And I want to thank you for watching. Our mission here at Dr. Phil Primetime and at Merritt Street Media is to talk about things that matter to people who care. That's what I've always been trying to do, and that's what we're committed to here. And boy, have those issues changed over the years. Family is under attack in this country right now, and it's time that we talk about it. It's time that we give it a voice. So stay tuned for more TV you can actually use. And tell your friends, Merritt Street Media is new. It's available everywhere you watch TV. And I talk about all the issues and more in my new book, We've Got Issues, How You Can Stand Strong for America's Soul and Sanity, which is available everywhere. We will have even more information on our website, so log on to drphil.com. Thank you, and good night.